Welcome to Talk About Topeka. I'm Chris Schultz. Tonight, with a record-setting third appearance on our show, Miss Karen Hastings returns to tell us all about her stage production of Driving Miss Daisy. Here's what she had to say about it last time.
It's a show I've always wanted to do. I mean, I was always so young and not ready for it, but now I am.
That's a very gracious way of saying that you're ready to play Miss Daisy.
For a long time. And I think it's a great script, and I think there are a lot of great messages in it, like, don't ever think you're better than another human being, because you're not.
Yeah. We'll also meet with Chris Aytes, leader of the band Chris Aytes and the Good Ambition. But first, I'd like to say a few words about our goals at this show. First, we encourage Topeka's entrepreneurial spirit. Second, we like to focus on the people, places, and things that make Topeka tick. And sometimes we examine Topeka's role in the national conversation. Even when Kansas is facing nationwide embarrassment, I try to stay positive and offer constructive criticism. Not everyone else on my payroll can say the same, obviously. So when I was sent this image from 29th and Fairlawn of what appears to be a store for bigots, I went there myself to have a look at the bright side. Ah, that's better. It's just Big Lots. Alas, this unfortunate fluorescent burnout has also been seized by Topeka's entrepreneurial spirit. These and more bumper stickers are available now on sale at talkabouttopeka.com. This episode was sponsored by the WIBW channels and The Break Room, downtown's best spot for fresh baked lunch and home of the Gourmet Cabaret Dinner Theater. Check it out at breakroomdowntown.com. Without further ado, let's get this blimp rolling. Well, sitting on the green couch with me is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. It is the lovely Miss Karen Hastings. She's setting a record, folks. She's been on our show more than anybody else ever.
It's because I'm so pushy, right?
Me too. What can I say? Well, how are you doing, Karen?
I'm doing great, and I'm delighted you invited me again.
Well, absolutely. I'm all about shameless self-promotion. That's so wonderful. Mama didn't raise no dummies, folks.
That's right. So. Shameless self-promotion. I can identify with that a little bit.
Well, one of the things we've been working on, a project, and
yes.
I haven't so much. I just basically provide a space here, and I get to work so well with Arts Inc. because you guys do a wonderful job bringing the arts to the stage. You're bringing live theater to downtown Topeka. I'm so glad that we at the Break Room can provide a home for you.
Oh, Chris, that's wonderful. Believe me, we're delighted to have a home as well.
Absolutely. We've done several projects now. We're going on a couple of years now, so this is good. And we're working on Driving Miss Daisy right now.
Yes, we are.
And, of course, starring the lovely Karen Hastings.
I said when you direct the shows, you can also do the cast. Shameless self-promotion. There it is again. It's wonderful to be queen. Yes.
But it's good. It's great to see you on stage again,
Thank you.
Especially in such a wonderful role like Miss Daisy.
I love it.
Yeah. I know a lot of folks, they've seen the movie. It hasn't really been done around here too much. But, tell us a little bit about the actual play version.
The play version, Alfred Uhry also wrote the screenplay, so the screenplay stays pretty true to the play. And yet, of course, being a movie, they could flesh it out, and they put in a lot of characters that are only talked about in the stage play. And there you actually saw the accident where Miss Daisy demolishes her car. Things like that they can always do in movies that we don't do in the stage play. But the stage play is it's a fun, the man won a Pulitzer Prize for it, and it's just incredibly well written, which is such a gift because it makes it a lot easier to act, if something is that well written.
And especially when people have such iconic pictures of the movie Driving Miss Daisy, that did a wonderful. Morgan Freeman and Jessica Tandy and those guys in that. I mean, they've raised the bar so high.
Yes, they did.
And luckily they have, because I think it's a piece that needs to be done with quality. Oh. And folks, you're going to see that with Karen and the cast. Tell us about who's in the show.
Dana Shobe is in the show. He plays Hoke, and he's delightful. Dennis Dobson is also, they're going to be wonderful. And Dennis is very well acquainted with all of the Jewish things that come forward in the show, and has filled us in on a lot of events and things that are celebrated, the way things are done, which just helps, you know, to have that as background. And Dana he's very young. We tease him because he's so young, but his acting ability is incredible. So it's such a pleasure to do this show. Carol Reese is directing it.
Yeah, Carol Reese, who's the retired president and CEO of Topeka Civic Theater.
Right,
Yeah.
and she's a delight to work with. I mean, she really plumbs roles. She really does. I mean, she digs down and forces you to look at things you might not think to look for yourself. And that's you know, you grow. So
there's so many themes in Driving Miss Daisy as a show.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously racial themes, there's religious
Right.
themes, there's aging themes. I mean, just take your pick. It's full of them.
It's full of them. And it runs a 25-year span. She goes from being the age of 72 to 97, and we start in 1948. So, I mean, it's very soon after World War II. Then we go through to her wanting to take Hope to the Martin Luther King dinner. And it brings back, for those of us who are old enough, it brings back, oh my gosh, all those memories. You know, the JFK assassination is coming up. All those tumultuous years that some of us lived through, some of you only read about, but believe me, they formed the future we're in now. They really did.
Absolutely. Good or bad, whatever you call
Yeah,
that.
whatever,
It's
whatever,
where we are
however
here today. Yeah.
Right, right.
And I want to also talk about the food. Chef Michelle's put together a wonderful menu for the show, and we're going to put that on the screen so you can see what it looks like. And it's going to be fantastic. It's a Southern Jewish-inspired menu because, of course,
Really?
Miss Daisy is Jewish. We know that,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
know that it takes place in the South. So she's really, in this case, she's tried to take something that's really, you know, the theme of the meal,
Wonderful.
as though you might be in Miss Daisy's house having dinner with
Oh,
her.
that's
So
great.
It's kind of a dinner party at Miss Daisy's. So
Yeah, we hadn't checked with each other, so I didn't know that either. That's wonderful.
It's a fantastic meal. And of course, folks can buy tickets for Driving Miss Daisy. It's happening through August at the Break Room. Tickets are available at breakroomdowntown.com. We would absolutely love to have you there.
Yes, we would.
Yes, because it's really, we're having a lot of fun with this stuff, and we're bringing
We
these
are.
wonderful shows to downtown Topeka. The last few shows that we've done have been complete sold-out shows. The
Yeah, they
Drunkard,
have.
we had a wait list for that one. We added a couple of performances that immediately sold out. It was really spectacular, so don't wait to
Right,
get your
don't wait to
tickets.
get your tickets, because this is she's such a wonderful, they're all wonderful characters. So, but of course, I'm in love with Daisy.
As you
She
should
is-
be.
Yeah, she is so frisky. Let me tell you, she doesn't take anything off anybody.
Well, I think drawing some points here, as these folks are very familiar with the movie, and then the play version. You know, sometimes people say, "Well, you know, I saw this movie and then I read the book and it was completely different." Are we looking
No.
at pretty much?
No, it's exactly the same. Actually, as I say, it's fleshed out a little in the movie, because in the movie you can actually go to the garage and see the car,
Right.
and that sort of thing that you can't provide on stage. And yet the stage version, that's where we started with this show. He started with a stage version, and it's the one that won the Pulitzer. That's why they went ahead and did the movie.
Absolutely.
Because it was so successful, and it's dynamite. That script is it's incredible, and we've got incredible people doing it. So
What I think is really exciting about it is that it's such an intimate show, because it is about an intimate, as intimate as it can be for a relationship between Miss Daisy and Hoke.
Right.
And you're putting that intimate show in a very intimate venue, and you're right up there. So this is perhaps an experience for Driving Miss Daisy like you've never seen an experience for Driving Miss Daisy.
That's
up
one
close
thing.
and personal right there.
That's a wonderful thing about working at the break room, really, because you're so close to that audience and they are so close to you that they don't miss anything. You know, we're just all right there together, and I love working that way.
Well, and I know everybody loves seeing Miss Hastings on stage. We love working with you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Chris.
so much for coming out and talking about Driving Miss Daisy. And break a leg, I'll say, to
Thank
you
you.
and the rest of the cast.
Thank you.
And again, Driving Miss Daisy is all through the month of August. So get your tickets at breakroomdowntown.com. Karen, thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
You bet.
Busy life, busy life.
So have you ever wondered what it'd be like to start your own band? Well, this guy knows what I'm talking about. This is Chris Aytes of Chris Aytes and the Good Ambition. How you doing, Chris?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate that. You've been all over Topeka and all over the place with your band, and I want to know, tell us about the whole inspiration behind it.
The inspiration behind the band? When I was in high school, I started playing guitar, started writing songs, and started getting to feel that I really wanted to attempt to do this, as unrealistic and wild of an idea as that is. So I planned well, and I married a drummer. And she and I have been pursuing different musical exploits for the past 10 years, almost 11 years, actually. We've moved around the country doing different things, living different places, having different incarnations of different bands, writing songs. Landed in Springfield a few years ago, got pretty serious, found a bass player there, recorded a few demos, did a few shows, got an album together. Things ended up going their separate ways. We had our first child. I got into working in coffee as a day job. I moved to Topeka to work for PTs.
Yeah.
I met young Josh Hartranft working in the warehouse, who happened to be a bass player. He hopped on board not long before we put out our first album. 3 years later, the three of us are still Chris Aytes and the Good Ambition, and making our first real push to be playing out of town a lot. We've been playing in Topeka a lot for the past few years.
Yeah.
Topeka's been very good to us, very supportive of us, been a great home base. And now throughout this summer, we're playing Wichita, Kansas, to Chicago, Illinois, to Des Moines and Omaha and Springfield, Missouri, and everywhere in between.
I know you've done a lot of good things for the community as well in what you've been doing. So tell us a little bit about how a band can do something good for the community.
Sure. There's been a lot of ways. A personal project that we kind of created and took on, and we did for a year, was a series of showcase concerts that we called Loud, Soft, Loud. And what that was when we first kind of got here, we saw that there were some shows happening, mostly at the Booby Trap through Brian Chambers, which
he's
we
been
love.
on the show before.
Yeah, we love the Booby Trap. Everybody needs to go out and support our great local music venue. Mostly shows were happening there, not much anywhere else. That's not to say live music wasn't happening. There's great music happening all over the city.
Sure.
But usually one band all night long at a bar. And that's cool and that's great, and we do that as well. And I love that. But we kind of thought, people might be more apt to get involved in local music if they can pay $3 and see 5 bands.
Yeah.
So we decided we would do every few months, we would just organize our own big showcase, except we went more ridiculous, and it was pay $3, and I think the first time we did it, it was see 9 different artists.
Wow.
And it was local and regional, so it was Topeka acts, and even the first time we did it, we had a band from McPherson, we had 2 different singer-songwriters from Springfield, Missouri, and I forget what else right now. But just the first time out, we had 9 acts in one night.
Quite a spectacular,
Yeah, it
maiden
was.
voyage there.
It was really cool. And the sound guy thought we were nuts. He was really angry at me at the beginning of the night, but at the end of the night, he really enjoyed himself.
Sure.
And so we did that, and every 4 months or every 3 months, every 3 months we did another one. And as we kept doing that, we started to see some of the bands that we were close to, that we were working with, started to do that more in venues outside the Booby Trap, because that's the normal thing with what Brian does. It's always 3-4 bands.
Yeah.
But we started to see people booking more shows at great places like Celtic Fox, except now instead of just playing all night, they got a couple other bands to come with them. And I want to take all the credit for that, but I want to take all the credit for that. But for that, we really wanted to boost the local music scene. We wanted to help support the other artists. We wanted to help get more people coming out and supporting music. Because our philosophy is, if it boosts the local scene, if it boosts the arts community, if it boosts the music community, it boosts us.
Yeah.
And in my mind, none of my musical heroes have ever come from without a scene. I worded that horribly, but what I meant was all of my heroes came from a scene. Once upon a time, even the Beatles were just another band playing in Liverpool.
Yeah, that's true.
And everybody comes from a strong scene who has a long career. So
do you see
we
the
wanted to
scene
build a
here in
scene.
Topeka? I mean, especially with, say, the Noto Arts District, and you're seeing a lot of these creative folks coming together. Are you seeing a build in the music scene as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And Topeka music scene is very different from a lot of places. And we still have to battle this mentality a lot, even among the local musicians that say, "Oh, there's really not a scene here, and it's really weak." But it's just different, because in a lot of places, a scene means there's 20 bands and they all kind of sound the same. And you can look at Seattle in the early 90s. It was just all about grunge, and not to clump
true,
all of them
yeah.
in together, but you can point at Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, Mudhoney, and they all came from the same kind of realm. Topeka's not that way. Topeka, there's 75 bands, and hardly any of them are doing anything the same. And any night you could go see Chris Aytes and the Good Ambition do our rock and roll revival thing, where we're mixing all these rock and roll elements from 50s, 60s, and 70s. You could catch Monk's Wine doing this
Those guys are
pop
great
rock,
too, yeah.
jazzy fusion thing that I love. You could catch Ellie Smith and the Commotion doing phenomenal blues, and a lot of other great blues bands in town.
Yeah.
The Top City Ramblers doing great rebellious country music. Lopan's Revenge doing this post-punk surf rock thing, and on and on and on. Bulletproof Tiger. I could go on dropping names of bands that I love in this town. But we're all extremely different, and that's the thing about the Topeka scene right now, is it's really rich with all kinds of stuff. And there's no telling what you might run into if you just go out and check out what's happening musically in this town.
It's always good, as with any art, when artists are able to kind of use their talents and foster their talents to help other people grow their own talent, as opposed to having some kind of a photocopy book of this is okay, well, you copy this and do that and then do this because they're doing it right, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. Like it's always good to see a scene that really encourages it to blossom out and supports each other instead of just trying to beat everybody down.
Yeah,
so.
and there tends to be a lot more of that just support in Topeka. Bands working together. We've gotten to play some great shows with some even good traveling and out of town bands because another local band hooked us up with that show or recommended us, or somebody that runs a venue recommended us to help somebody that was touring through. We've gotten to do a lot of stuff like that. The emerging arts community has been good to us as well. Aaron Douglas Art Fair supported us a couple years in a row.
And we just had them on the show last week, so people can go back and find out about the Aaron Douglas Art Fair as well.
That's right. And they do a lot to support local music. Noto, we played at Serendipity many times. We did a little bit of a residency there last year. On, and things are crossing over, and the arts is supporting the music, and music is supporting the arts more and more. And that's really great. And there's some cool stuff happening in this town, and people often don't know about it, and people often discount it. But I'm telling you, there's world-class musical talent in this town.
That's right. I think one of the coolest things, we talk a lot about people wanting to move out of town, when they get older or whatever. If we can foster the youth to see that their individual talents are, accepted and encouraged, and there are people that help them with that, and they can really find that one little niche place that they can fit in. That's how we keep creative people in this community.
Yeah.
And I think this is a perfect example right here of how we've seen a community grow through music, through art, and man, thanks for all you're doing. I
Thanks,
appreciate
man. I
that.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I know people don't sit there and say thanks a lot, but thank you, really.
I accept.
Yeah, excellent. So tell us about some of your website and how folks can find out about all about Chris Aytes and the Good Ambition.
Yeah, we are out there, thegootambition.com. Spelled just like you think it would, or my name, chrisaytes.com, spelled just like this.
Yes,
because no one can ever figure out how to spell that.
Tell me about how you guys came up with the name.
Well, long ago I realized if I'm going to make it in music, it's going to be a long road. It's going to take a while. Bands are going to come and go. Band members are going to come and go. And I didn't want to have to create a new band name every time we lost the bass player or every time some guitarist quit or whatever.
Sure.
Because a lot of bands have to do that. They lose members, only a couple people left, come up with a new name. Now they have to write a whole new catalog of songs, and that just sounded impossible to me. So I decided then, a lot of my heroes are guys like Bruce Springsteen and Elvis Costello and Buddy Holly, guys whose names I know. And so, but I always wanted to have a band. So I thought, again, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, Elvis Costello and the Attracts, and Buddy Holly and the Crickets, and on and on. And I thought that's great, because what we do musically, for anybody who hasn't heard us, it's rooted in the first era of rock and roll, Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, that kind of stuff. Really then heavily influenced by the British invasion, and then the stuff in the 70s with power pop and punk and other things. All kind of mixed together to be really fun, rock and roll, exciting. You can dance to it, you can smile and have a good time. And so it just fit that idea of Buddy Holly and the Crickets, Gene Vincent and the Blue Caps, Chris Aytes and the Good Ambition.
Yeah.
How we landed on Good Ambition, I'm not entirely certain. I don't necessarily remember. Yeah, I mean, you just keep going and you jot down cool band names that come up, and I thought I liked the national average for a long time, because people kept talking about the national average price of gas, so I liked that for a long time. But then a band came out that was called The National that got huge, so I was like, well, it's not going to be the national average.
Foiled again.
So eventually, and I don't remember how Good Ambition landed, but it's worked, because we're an ambitious band. We're full of optimism. It's just been a name that has suited us well. So that's the story behind it, as much of a story that there is.
Well, excellent. Well, folks, you found out about Chris Aytes and the Good Ambition, and you need to go check out their website. Say it one more time.
TheGoodAmbition.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter and everything else.
All right, there we go. And I can't let you go until we do the notorious lightning round.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I have to ask you these questions here. And
That's right.
if you watch the show, you might actually have a leg up on some of these. We'll
Maybe.
see. All right.
I do watch the show, but I forgot about the darn lightning.
Oh, all right. Well, let's put 60 seconds on the clock and see where we end up. All right. First question. In your opinion, what was the greatest movie ever made?
Shawshank Redemption.
Good one. All right. Do you prefer Facebook or Twitter?
Twitter.
All right. I think you're the first person to ever say that on here.
Yeah.
Twitter followers. There you go.
Causing waves.
Where'd you attend high school?
Great Bend, Kansas.
All right. If you were a car, what kind of car would you be?
Dodge Dakota.
All right.
From 1991.
Okay.
Red with orange and yellow decals on it.
You all can figure that out. On
Daytona, not Dakota. Did I say Dakota?
Well, okay. Daytona makes a little more.
Daytona was my first car.
I can see that.
I said Dakota. So figure that out. That's probably a SUV. Soccer moms drive.
Let's see. What's your first job?
My first job, I worked at Animal Medical Center. I walked dogs and cats and cleaned up mountain oysters.
Sounds interesting. Let's see. If you could bring a dead celebrity back to life and ask him one question, who would it be and what would you ask?
It'd be John Lennon. And I don't know what I just say. Tell me whatever you want to tell me.
Just say John Lennon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, our time is up. But what's your favorite television show to watch every Tuesday night at 9:30 on my TV?
Talk about Topeka.
Hey, there we go, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
on
for
the show.
having me, man.
Really appreciate you coming by, and I appreciate that you have your piece, and there's such a vibrant music and art scene going on here in Topeka.
Yeah, so get out there and check it out.
That's right. He said it better than I could. So do it, you.
couch.
That's
Right.
right. Thanks again to Karen Hastings and Chris Aytes. This episode was sponsored by the WIBW channels and The Break Room, downtown's best spot for a fresh-baked lunch and home of the Gourmet Cabaret Dinner Theater. Check it out at breakroomdowntown.com. If you have a fun picture taken in Topeka, send it to us on our website or through Facebook, Twitter, or Gmail. My sister still wants you to check out the Topeka newsletter, but all I really want you to do is to keep talking about Topeka.